Fauci recently said that this virus is so contagious it will never disappear. Why has there been such little reporting in the National Institutes of Health on their funding of gain-of-function research in Wuhan especially, since it was known how careless these labs were in protocols, safety, etc.? In your opinion, who is to blame here?
Okay, first I want to mention that when I work in that WHO reference lab in the University of Hong Kong, we do receive a lot of funding from NIH, from CDC, from Bill Gates Foundation, all this from government. But we really need to do the annual or even semi-annual report to these funding committees. So I'm sure if NIH, they already gave the funding to Wuhan or the other institute in China, according to their regulation, they should ask for this kind of review every 6 months or every year from these institutes. But why don't you see such a report online? Then you should come to ask NIH, ask whether they didn't do the things according to the regulation, or they hide some report, or they had make some deal on their table with this kind of institute to get them avoid of this kind of report. And for the other part of this question, I think he want to mention that there may be an accident from this kind of gain-of-function labs. But I work in the P3 lab in the WHO reference lab for several years. Let me explain to you how strict this kind of management for this kind of P3 and the P3 plus lab and even the P4 lab. So basically, I can tell you, after the very strict training and under the 24-hour surveillance, people come into those P3 lab or the above level lab. They are the only ones can come back alive. I mean, no animal, no other pathogens get into that lab can leave the lab alive. All the animals, all the pathogens, if they want to leave this P3 or above lab, they have to go through either very strict inactive procedure to make it already lose the activity, or go through the autoclave. That procedure means very high temperature, very professional procedure to get it hot enough to kill all this kind of pathogen from those garbage, dead body, all these things. So basically, if you want to believe the accident, then I can tell you that it's just the alternative choice the China's CCP government want you to believe. I can tell you, before 19th January this year, before I review this virus, it comes from PLA lab based on Zhoushan bat virus through Luda's media. Our government always try to let people believe that it's a natural origins virus come from the Huanan seafood market. But the next day, when they realize that I already reviewed this message and deliver it out, they make some kind of alternative choice that based on this kind of natural origin theory, they also have the backup plan that when people try to find out it is not from nature, they can say this is just accidental release from the lab. So that's why later they put some law to say that to enhance the biosafety issues in the Chinese labs, and also they quickly send the bioweapon general Prof. Wei Chen to Wuhan Institute and to try to clean out this evidence, take over for whole institute. For such institute, you can imagine that they are doing something, in the biosafety 4 level labs, you are doing some pathogen like Ebola, smallpox, or plague. And besides, you also can do some gain-of-function experiment for some unknown pathogens. You won't let this kind of biosafety issue come out because the leaders are not stupid. They know how dangerous this is. So they take the very, very strict surveillance for that. This kind of leakage, accident things are just the things Chinese government want you to believe. Well, so who should be accountable for, of course, where it come from, who should become accountable for that?
So what you're saying is essentially we're being played by every side, right? Where it came from, where it didn't come from, they've got an answer for each one of our inquiries. This sort of goes along with what we're seeing with the World Health Organization's negotiations about getting into Wuhan. Apparently, they've reached some sort of agreement, but as far as I can tell, as of this morning, they still have not actually had access to any of the labs or any of the raw data. So I see your point.
Scared.
One other question that, yeah, they are scared. One other question that I think can allow you to elaborate on this. This is from an anonymous listener, and she says, we know from whistleblowers like Dr. Yan the Chinese leadership is taking hydroxychloroquine. Is this not a hint to the powers that be that perhaps the Chinese regime knows something that we don't?
That's not perhaps, that's definitely. I mean, the Chinese regime knows so many things they don't want the world to know. That's why they recruit their whole national power to influence the world, to influence those kind of international organizations like WHO, and also even influence the people, those professional people, I don't need to mention the names, who are in a very high position and can influence even the policy in other countries like US, right? So they have tried to do many things, but just back to the COVID-19, I can tell you the basic things is Chinese government, they don't want the people to know the real origin of this virus. They don't you to understand why this virus can be so enhanced to target human. And they try to let you believe that this is some natural one, and also there are still no good drugs. You have to donate a lot of money for the vaccine, and China may be the first one to develop the vaccine who can help you. And also, they don't want you to know how to stop the spread of the virus. I can take an example based on my several months, very deep investigation during COVID-19 since the beginning. I had many first-hand of clinical data and information from Chinese hospital and also the government. The Chinese government, they don't want the people to know that hydroxychloroquine will be useful for prevention and early stage treatment. And they try to let people believe their Chinese medicine recipe, which is something, you can try to use it as possible. And also, they try to let people thought they already make the 0 cases increasement. They try to let people thought our death toll and mortality is quite low, and now China is very safe. They also try to stop the asymptomatic cases study to show that it can be harmful. People should be alarmed to it. They suspend
Doctor, we're going to have to cut. Dr. Yan, we have a question from one of our audience members. It's question number 9 for the AVN crew. And the question is, since COVID-19 is still roaming around the country and not acting like a seasonal flu, does that mean it might be getting weaker and burning itself out? And I think she's probably referencing perhaps the history of SARS-1. And I wondered if you could talk about that sort of potential decay of the virus.
Oh, okay. So first, I want to tell our audience that, yes, they have this idea because their idea based on this virus is some virus come from nature. After the natural evolution, and finally, this virus, this pathogen meets the host. Here, it means human, because human is shown to be the best host in the world for SARS-CoV-2. But these things based on the law of nature. And here we are talking about something special. We didn't see this virus on the other natural kind of character like we see before. And according to I said before, we analyze the genome and we see the evidence. This virus actually is definitely not come from nature, and it's already been modified through the lab, those kind of techniques. They even leave the evidence inside. And in my scientific report with my scientist team, I will show it to people. So here briefly, I want to tell you is, if you expect this kind of adaptation between the virus and the host, and then after a while, the mutant, and also this kind of balance from the immunity between the virus and also the human make it weaker, then I don't think it will become true soon. And as we say, it's already like second waves and even third waves happen in the world in many places like Hong Kong, or even later will come to US some places. So we have to know that to figure it out, how it can become such a big pandemic, how it like humans so much, has to back to the origin of this virus. That's why I call for people to come out and check the origin, to use your knowledge to verify the origins of this virus. It's not come from nature. It's based on the PLA-owned Zhoushan bat coronavirus. So it already get enhanced for some characters, like they like to attack the human ACE2, which is a receptor all over your world, all over your body in different type of the organs and even the vessel endothelial, means it's on the blood vessel. So there are a lot of targets for this virus, and also it can be very lethal because this virus get bound into your cells and also give a lot of the downstream damage to your body by leading the cytokine storm and later induce the thrombosis. This kind of things, if you expect just by the nature evolution get weakened, then the global health will be in a big damage. So we have to find out how they really modify this kind of virus and what kind of character is already obtained. Then focus on this, we have to develop the drugs or find out the useful drug we already had, like whether HCQ can be applied in different stage, like prevention and early stage of treatment, and also try to develop the vaccine. Like these ways we have to think about to overcome this virus.